3, 2, 1. If you had one wish, what would you wish for? Now, what if everyone else had one wish too? That's 8 billion genies. At exactly the same moment, everyone on Earth gets a genie and one wish. All hell breaks loose in a very entertaining way, and that's just the beginning. Buckle in for the wildest ride of the year. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. I'm Ash. This is the comic. And those words I just read were not mine. That is the promo material of the book, 8 Billion Genies. And I just picked these up on Comixology. I got the first 3 issues. They're discounted. One of the things, if you're not aware of this, it's a cool way to get comics at a cheaper price. For at least Image Comics. Some of the publishers do this, some don't. But Image is one of the publishers that does it. I think Boom does as well. But a month after the book is out, and then when the next issue comes out, they discount the previous book by 50%. So instead of $3.99, you pay $1.99. And that's a lot more economical and affordable. And all you got to do is wait a month. It's not very long. And I know for myself, sometimes I let books backlog. And I don't read. There'll be like a couple of months of books piled up for certain issues, and I'm just like, oh, I'm way behind. And I'm like, man, I could have just paid half price for these books instead of full. So it's not a bad thing to do. Sometimes I just don't care about collecting the books. Like I want to read them, but I don't like need to own them. And I passed on 8 Billion Genies in the beginning because let's face it, look at this cover. It's called 8 Billion Genies. It's got a goofy looking genie thing on the cover. It just the static art it just does not scream out to me. Charles Soule is not a writer that I've really liked. Not that I've read a ton of Charles Soule, but what I read of his Daredevil stuff I didn't like, and I thought he totally botched Star Wars. Although I heard he did a decent job on Darth Vader. I never read that. But I don't try to judge too much of a writer on mainstream stuff because it's different than writing your own stuff. Writing someone else's characters can be very challenging. Really, it is. And Charles Soule is an accomplished writer. He writes novels. He is co-writing one of my favorite books, Undiscovered Country, with Scott Snyder. And what I understand between those two is each month the other takes a hand at like actually doing the script. So, and I can't really notice the difference. I think like their scripting is pretty solid. I don't read one and go, oh, this is terrible and this one's good. I'm not 100% sure that that's the way it goes, but I think I read in one interview that's what they're doing. And I've been really enjoying that book. I think it's very interesting. So there's been a lot of buzz about 8 Billion Genies. A ton of buzz. And when I heard the premise, which I just read to you, it sparked my interest. I was like, oh, okay, that's very cool. I think the concept of a genie and wishing is a really cool concept. It's probably why it's been around for forever. I think the idea of everyone getting a single wish kind of adds a twist to it that I've never seen done before. I think it's super ambitious. My next thought when I heard that, I was like, wait a second, okay, that's really cool, but let's put on the brakes for a second. As cool as that sounds, I'm not sure I trust an author to be able to handle that correctly. You know, there's so much involved in having 8 billion people wish and how their wishes interact with each other. Being able to imagine like what people actually would wish for, being able to imagine how that would affect the world. That is a challenge. I'm not sure, but people have been enjoying it. So I was like, I got to try this out. I want to see where it goes. And when I read the first issue, which you can kind of see here, the first thing that I noticed immediately is I hated the art. I am not a fan of Ryan Brown's art. I think this could be much better if he got a good inker, because when I look at this, the first thing that screams out to me is how atrocious the inking is on this book. But most modern artists ink their own work these days, and that's a make it or break it. You get more of the money, but if you're not an accomplished inker, and let's face it, that's a craft that's kind of going the way of the dodo, it can really mess up your work. And to me, this just looks like blotchy. Inking is not about just inking over pencils. It's not just, there's more to it. And if, anyways, you can see for yourself. I'm just giving you my opinion on the art. I think most people can just look at something and see whether it appeals to them or not. The second thing about the art, though, is does it adequately work in telling the story? Is the artist a good sequential artist? Can they do visual storytelling? And to that, I would say Ryan Brown is adequate. Didn't wow me. You can see here from these panels and pages that I'm showing, it's a lot of flat angles. This is kind of what I call like the sitcom approach, where you just have, chest high cameras pointing at people. There's never any real interesting angles. It's just a lot of head shots, people talking. That's a lot of modern comics. However, I'm not too at fault. I'm not trying to hold too much fault to this book, because in this issue, that's a lot of what this is. Now, in the premise here is there's this bar called the Lampwick, I think it's the Lampwick. Yeah, the Lampwick. Get it? Genie, Lampwick. And you can see here some people walking in the bar. These people actually matter. We got this kid and then this Asian couple. They're crucial characters. And this whole book is actually centered around all the characters in this bar. And I think that immediately when I was reading, I was like, oh, that's how you're going to accomplish this crazy idea. Is you're going to make a microcosm you're not going to cover 8 billion people getting wishes. You're going to cover sort of this group of people. And this book comes across very much like a Twilight Zone episode, although not quite as dark, but it's very much focusing like in this bar, because as soon as this happens, these genies, as you see here, pop up. Hey, blah, 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 we're genies. This book wastes no time to get in the story. There is not a lot of buildup, and I think that's going to work for a lot of people. It's just straight up, boom, there's genies, and everyone gets a wish, ta-da-da, bing, ba. No explanation yet as of why, and just starts happening. And immediately the bartender guy is thinking, and the bartender's like the wise old man, he immediately wishes, I wish that no wish made outside of this bar can affect anyone or anything inside it. That's his wish. And the genies just, and I gotta say, on the cover, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, but in the book, these genies really work for me. They're very emotive. They kind of have a cutesy quality to them. And the genie's like, oh, hey, done. Just like the little salute here, enjoy the show. And then the genie just dissipates. And you can see here, this is the first 8 seconds. We have 8 billion people, and then genie population 8 billion. Because now when a genie fulfills a wish, the genie dies, apparently. It becomes not counted in the population at the very least. It dissipates. So that counter is going to become relevant. So we hear the first 8 minutes, and we can now see people started making wishes. There's less genies, but there's also less people, because his wishes are causing people to die. Because sometimes wishes are reckless. Sometimes people wish for things to kill other people. But this whole concept of wishing for things like not to affect the bar or the people inside it really matters. Now, there's an eclectic cast of characters. There's the band that's in the bar. There's this little kid with his drunk dad. He was coming here originally to like get his dad, who's just drowning his sorrows in booze. And the poor kid. You find out later that it's because his mother's been dead and different things. The band, like all bands, don't seem to really get alike. There's a little bit of a love triangle. So we've got different characters, and you can see here where they take a step outside, and this is some of the chaos that immediately is ensuing as people get wishes. Apparently, some people wish for a monster truck full of gold in the back. Not too hard to disbelieve. I think there would be people that might wish for that stuff. And part of the joy of this book is just the sheer like chaos of it all, the sheer like, what the heck, where's this going to go? I found this book to be very much enjoyable on that level. It's very fun. It's very just like, it's almost like a thought experiment, but it's just wacky, but not in the sense like the characters aren't wacky. The situation is wacky. And I was just along for the ride. I got into the book too. And can I get into book 2? By the way, this is the new Comixology reader. It kind of sucks. But what are you going to do? And the next book is the first 8 hours. And you're going to see a pattern here. And you can see the counter dips. And different characters are kind of explored in this book. It's almost, I don't know if you ever like Canterbury Tales. A lot of books have copied Canterbury Tales, and this idea of like you have this cast of characters and they're all got different motives and different things that they're doing, and the story will wind around and focus on these different characters, where they've come from, where they're going, their motives, and they're all kind of stuck in this bar together because of this wish. The Lampwick is like invincible, like nothing. Like you can see this one guy. He's had a rough life. He's had a bunch of cars repoed or something. I can't remember exactly, but he wishes for a giant Robosaurus car crushing machine. Anyways, it can't destroy the tavern because the wish. Also, it turns out that the old man is a prepper, so the basement is all ready to go, so they can weather out the storm, all these people, which is a little contrived. But look, the story is contrived. It's 8 billion genies. I got a kick out of it. Some of these characters are just assholes, but they're assholes in a way that's very understandable. Like, here's one of the band members. He got spurned because he is kind of has a thing for his bandmate and was going to ask her out, but she's actually in love with the other band member, except that she wasted her wish on, this is a minor spoiler, she wasted her wish on getting the other band member to fall in love with her, except the other band member, they were in the bar, so the wish couldn't affect, so her wish got voided. And then now he's just like rubbing it in her face, and he's like, fuck, F you, bitch. Like, I can't believe I was into you and stuff. And so he's kind of like pissed off, and he's kind of just a millennial jerk. But it works because these are just normal. They're supposed to represent normal people. And not everyone is cool people. And sometimes you have to start off as a jerk to have a character arc, to have a sense of self-discovery. So I'm not going to spoil too much of the book, but I really just love the genies. Each one is personalized to the person that they're a genie of. I just dug them. It just worked for me. Most of the cast inside this bar have not used their wishes. They're kind of like, oh, let's think about this, which is pretty cool. I think that's a really smart thing to do. And occasionally the story will venture outside of the bar. Here we get to see the President of the United States makes a wish that, like, I wish the United States of America would now and forever be the foremost power on the planet in all things for the benefit of its people and the people all over the world. And then, of course, he actually has his top general make the wish, so he doesn't waste his wish. And I'm just like, I'm not sure if that would really happen, but for the sake of comics, it happens. Like, cool, whatever. And, you know, it's just fun. And as the story goes on, things get crazier and crazier. It takes place in Detroit. Detroit's now on fire. And it's maybe not completely believable, but at no time was I ever reading the book and I was like, oh, that wouldn't be... There was never a time where I was like, are you kidding me? That's so... You do have to suspend your disbelief in this story. But if you're willing to believe, like, 8 billion genies, like, the writers do a pretty... Or the writer, Charles Soule, does a really decent job at keeping you within that suspension, never pushing it so hard that you're just like, oh, come on. You do have to be kind of along for the ride. We get another cast of characters that show up. I don't want to really spoil too much. This is just meant to be a review, covering the first 3 issues. And let's go into the last one. And you can see the pattern unfolding. Oh, it doesn't happen yet. Yeah, here we go. The first 8 days. So the next book will be the first 8 weeks. Then the next one presumably will be the next 8 months. Then probably the next 8 years. They keep seeming to do that in one increment of time. And I find that to be a very interesting way of telling this story. This is not a story about a singular character and their journey. This is more of a story about an event and characters affected by these events. And it really worked for me. Just a ton of fun. These characters, you're not really sure some of these characters are, like that Asian couple, very mysterious. They actually went to the wrong bar the whole time. They're like, we're trying to find this other bar, I think called like the Lamp Light or something. And the bartender's like, oh, that's across town or whatever. And he's like, I gotta get there. I gotta get the mail. And he's got this mission, but we don't know what it is. So they're like, well, they're trying to theorize, well, how can you get there? Well, maybe you could just wish to get there. And then the wife, the woman, it's like, your wife can wish for you to get back. And it's like, well, yeah, you could do that, but that's wasting, like, your 2 wishes, you're going to use that. And so he ends up wishing, another minor spoiler, decides to wish basically to become fully equipped and everything that he'll need to survive the genie apocalypse. Let's call it that. And so he gets turned into basically this tokusatsu type of badass Power Ranger thing. And then he goes crossing the city and he comes into some encounters. So the book doesn't just stay in the bar. You do get some cool excitement, some action-oriented stuff, characters facing physical conflict. There's a lot of ludicrous absurdity in this book, but it's never like silly absurdity. And I appreciate that. I think absurdity, when used correctly, can be very interesting. The characters end up going through things that no one would really ever have to go through. And we finally get to the end of the 3rd issue. The little kid, for reasons I'll save for you to the book, ends up wishing to become a superhero. And he still looks like this. He's got the little kid head on this like super body. And he's goes out to like save. There's a reasons why he's got to go out. And he ends up running into some other superheroes. And they kind of bring him in. So yeah, you can see here the next book is the first 8 weeks. And that's it. That is the first 3 issues of 8 Billion Genies. And this is a wild ride. Very fun. If you can get past the art, some of you may love it. You may go, oh, actually, art's great. Well, awesome. If you love the art, you're going to like this book probably even more than me. Very fun book. It doesn't mince words. It doesn't sit around. You're never reading it going like, oh, God, what is going on? Like, it's boredom. There's a lot happening in this book. Almost too much. But Charles Soule manages this really well. So it's a fun book. It's very different. It's 8 issues total. I'm going to give this a hearty recommend for the story. I absolutely recommend. Now, it might be hard picking up the physical copies. The books were like licensed like out of the gate to be made into a movie or TV show or something. And so immediately all the speculators grabbed everything. A lot of people were bitching and moaning, whoa, ruining comics and all that stuff, to which I say there's 2nd and 3rd printings of the book, so you could probably find those for affordable. So that's no big deal. Also, there's going to for sure be a trade paperback of this, so anyone who's like, I just want to read it, not have to pay tons of money for books, and collectors ruin the hobby. Bullshit. Collectors make the hobby. And you have plenty of ways to read the book. And I just gave one of the great ways to read the book. You can pay $1.99 an issue. I pay $1.79 because you get a 15% discount if you're a Comixology Unlimited subscriber, which I am. And there's a lot of ways to read books essentially for free. Only $5.99 a month. So if you care about saving money and getting like value, there's ways to do it. This is a cool book. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if this review helped make it interest to you or not. And tell me your thoughts. Real quick, let's kind of jump over to the League of Comic Geeks. You can see this is getting average 99 review for number 1. A lot of 5 stars. Now, I only gave issue number 1 3 stars because the first issue started off like I was like, what the heck? But this is not a 3-star series. I actually definitely think this is a 4-star series. So don't let that dissuade you and think, oh, Ash doesn't. It just started off. If you just read this one book alone and were like, huh, you might not be. And also the art really dragged it down. Use that as a gauge because I always consider the art in the final overall rating. And I only give 5 stars to like perfection or near perfection. So you're rarely going to see 5 stars. 4 stars is a very, very high rating for me. And this one barely came in at the 4 stars. And this isn't even like a book for me. That's the thing. This isn't my normal cup of tea. This isn't something I would go. But when people are really hyped and excited about something and it's fun, I was like, let me check it out. And I found myself really enjoying it enough to buy it on Comixology at a discount. So you can do the same. And let's see. Speaking of these other issues. Oh, look, issue number 2 has a 100% rating. So not a single person thumbs down, I guess. And issue number 3 has a 98 rating. And I believe issue 4 just came out 99 rating. So people are loving this series. And I think each issue just gets better and better. So I can understand where they're coming from. All right, that's enough from me. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Take care.